Hello everybody, welcome back to Throttle Grotto. This week we are going to talk about the 1.4T from the new Volkswagens, 2016 and up, and we're going to talk about why it's going to be the next great swap for older cars. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Throttle Grotto. I wanted to really dig in and show you guys all about the 1.4T now that I actually have one in the garage here, and show you why it's going to be the next hot ticket item for swapping into these older cars. There's a lot of things about this motor that make it really great. Alright, so here is the 1.4T fresh from the wrecking yard. This motor has 2,700 miles on it. So I guess the best way to talk about what's so great about this motor is we're just going to go around the front of the motor, and then we'll pivot, and we'll just go to all sides of the engine. How's that? So first of all, let's talk about the intake manifold here. It's a plastic intake manifold, yes, but it also houses an intercooler. So the intercooler is actually built into the manifold, so you don't have to do a front mount intercooler when you use one of these. Of course, at some point you may want to upgrade to a front mount intercooler, but everything is self-contained in here. Yes, there are a lot of hoses on the front of this, like kind of wrapped all the way around this engine, but everything is so compact. Like right here you can see that all of the accessories, including the AC, fit well inside the flange of this intake manifold as far as packaging. Down here we have the oil filter, which is very nice and easy to access. Here's your throttle body right here. So all of your intake tubing is self-contained as well. You can just run a tube off the MAF, or off the intake. Put the intake basically wherever you want it. It doesn't require a mass airflow sensor, so that is a nice thing, that you don't have to mount an air box or a mass airflow sensor or any of those types of things. All right, so next on the list, it's all aluminum, so it's very light, which is really a great thing. One of the negatives I'll have to say about this engine is this giant mount right here, which holds a coolant tube, and it's also part of your timing cover. So this will have to go away to do a swap, but there are people that are already coming up with solutions to bolt the engine mount over here. So that makes that a little more. This will be a little bit more of a challenge, but people are already working on getting this sorted out. So as we look at the back of the engine, this is your turbo, and everything is bolted right to, show you guys this here. So the turbo is bolted right to the head. There's no manifold. So that gives it even more room behind the engine to work. I believe this is for one of the axles, so I'm not going to need this bracket. But again, you can see everything is really compact. This is a great setup. And you can see at the narrowest part from the alternator to the back of the block, it's only about 7 inches. But from the front of the intake to the back of the turbo is about 2 feet. Alright, and then if this is the end that you were all probably curious about, does that pattern look familiar? That's because it should. It's the same bolt pattern for the flywheel as the O2A, O2J, O2O. The standard 6-bolt or the 6-bolt flange is the same, and if this flange pattern looks the same, it's because it pretty much is. It also has the same pattern as the older transmissions. So in fact, we are going to bolt one of them up today. Now, one of the other things you might be asking yourself is, well, if this is only 1.4 liters, it should be a smaller engine, right? And you would be correct. So from the end of the crank pulley to the end of the block is about 17, and I'm having a hard time holding it in place here. 17. Let's do it the other way. All right, from the end of the block to the end of the crank pulley, it's about 17 and 3/8 inches. If I go straight onto it there. So just under 17 and a half, which makes it shorter than an ABA or most of the other Volkswagen 4-cylinder engines as well. That is the O2A clutch assembly mounted on the 1.4T. Alright, so there it is. There is a 1.4T with an O2O transmission bolted to it. Now, I imagine you guys are going to want to see something like this hanging in the car. Well, I can tell you there's a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to make that happen just like this. Hey, everybody, so after a fair amount of struggle, well, here it is. There is a 1.4T in a Volkswagen Rabbit. Now I don't know if I'll be able to show you. So I have the O2A mounts in right now. I have this one from Tech 53 holding up the transmission side. And I have another Tech 53 mount underneath here holding up the back side of the transmission. So I'm going to have to make the front one that things are a little bit different right here with the ears for the starter. So I'm going to have to craft a front mount. So once I have the front mount created, things are a little tighter over here, but not bad. The belt drive sticks out really far on this engine, but man, if there was a lower profile way to tuck that belt up tighter to the block, that would be amazing, but there's not. So, and then of course we're going to have to do belt covers, all of the turbo plumbing. You can see where the turbo outlet is right there. So it's going to have to do a big old U and then back down to where the exhaust is down in the center. Not a big deal, just a tight 180 and then another 90, a few other angles. So there it is. That is the start of getting this 1.4T installed in the Rabbit. It's at least hanging there, and it's going to be on my engine bar for quite some time. Now, all the mechanical stuff aside, the engine management side of this is a whole nother ball game. There are some hurdles that I'm going to have to overcome with the wiring, with the ECU, with signals going to the ECU. So that is going to be a very complicated part of this process. I'm hoping that some of the companies and people that I've contacted to help with the project are going to be able to. And I understand timing and all that kind of stuff is a little tough. There are a few companies. I know Eurocraft has gotten one running, but he's not ready to release a harness until he knows he can make a reliable one, which totally makes sense. I wouldn't want to put out a product like that isn't tested, and you know, I would feel that I would be able to send out and be 100% and not get any returns on. So, but I have reached out to him, and if he comes up with what he feels is a reliable harness solution, then we'll go from there. But there's still tons of work to do on the 1.4T. It is a little bit of a setback as far as like timing to get the car on the road, but I got the Datsun to play with. I've got the Beat to play with. Now we know it fits. that's the first part of the struggle. So I've had a long day. I've got a long day tomorrow at work. I'm going to call it for tonight. I feel like I've got a lot of what I wanted to get done today done. So until next time, get out there and work on something.